Hey everyone, Scott Hansen here from NFL Red Zone. I hope you're checking out 1 hour of 5 Yard Rush, one of the best podcasts on NFL football in the UK.
Hey Rush Nation, how's everyone doing? Welcome back, I guess. I'm Bren. We're back from our pre-season break, for want of a better description. So we're back with our 5 Yard IDP pod. Pleased to announce we've got a very special guest with us this evening. But before that, I suppose I better introduce my partner in crime, the heart and soul of the IDP pod, Mr. Nathan Davis. How are we doing, mate?
All right, mate. Not too bad. Yeah, I might as well tell everybody why we've been sort of like off the radar for the last few weeks, months. Well, so I've had a bit of a nightmare. It's most people know my wife was diagnosed with breast cancer earlier on in the year, and we've been going through the process of the treatment side of things and surgery. However, we're now sort of like in a lot better place now, and we're touch wood through the worst of it. So I just want to thank people for their support that have obviously fired that over. That's been absolutely great. So anyway, straight onto the show side of things. Regarding fantasy, it's been an absolutely mental month. For I'm sure everybody involved. What with the Scottish Bowl kicking it all off about what was it now? A few weeks ago now, and we've got Warrior Bowl, the Steve Rains Bowl is just about to kick off. We've got Iggy's FF7s, and we've got Fantasy Frames tournaments. I've been drafting left, right, and centre, and the EFFC is also go. So it's been absolutely crazy, and somebody who I know has been in the same boat as me is Lewis. Hello, Mr. Lewis Venes. How are you, mate? All right?
I am all good, mate. Thank you. Firstly, to your wife, I wish her all the best in her recovery now.
Cheers, man.
And I'm just honoured to be on the show with you guys. I've been a fan of the show for a couple of years, and and we've been in leagues together. It's great to finally come on and learn a thing or two about IDP, because I'll just wing it most of the time, I think. And yeah.
So I suppose, before we get into the nuts and bolts of the show, so seeing as we've got you on, I know you and Nath have been sort of involved in quite a bit recently. We'll get onto that a bit later in the show. But do you want to sort of tell everyone a bit more about yourself, how you got into especially the IDP side of things? Yeah,
so it was COVID, when we was all in the pandemic. 2020 is when I started playing fantasy football. Murph actually got me into my first league through doing the mock draft, 7-round mock draft, and I represented the Vikings, and then with someone else, and then I got into fantasy through Murph, and went a bit crazy, loved it. Was in like 100 leagues, pretty much the same as everybody else, because we had nothing better to do. And it was Mace. He's a friend of your show, and he used to write for 5 Yard IDP, I think. And it was him that got me into the IDP side of it. I think both of you was in the first league I joined, I think.
Yeah.
Just so
feels a long time ago now.
It seems longer than it actually is. Yeah.
I mean, the amount of leagues that we're in together, I think, is I don't know how many it is, but yeah, it's ludicrous over the last few years. And like you said, I think it's mainly because we sort of like started the same time doing the commish side of things as well. Because I know you run quite a lot of leagues, don't you?
Yeah, we run quite a few leagues. All sorts of leagues, like different unique scorings and unique like guillotine leagues, vampire leagues, ones that are just absolutely crazy scoring that you'll never be able to work out a plan for, and you only get 60 seconds to pick and things like that. But I like a bit of IDP sprinkled in. I love just the different kinds of leagues. Keeps it fresh.
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. So, yeah, I mean, I think what I found as well is getting myself out there, especially during that COVID time, and getting involved with. It's just amazing to see a whole group, a new network of people, really, that just sort of formed off the back of that, joining all these leagues. And I mean, commish side of things. I mean, I don't know how many I've sort of got rid of now, where I'm not running them anymore, just because I just didn't have the time to do it. But I know you guys, you do a lot of those best ball leagues as well. I mean, they're absolutely great for people getting into the game as well. I think best ball for me is one of those formats that is really easy for people to, because even if they get it wrong, they can just do another one.
Exactly. Yeah,
it's absolutely great. But tonight we're here. I mean, I've also got to mention you're part of the 5 Yard family now, aren't you? So you're doing the Fast Action Friday podcast. Is it?
Podcast it's a show like this, and it'll be every Friday in season with me, Rob, and Pitsy, and it's just quick fire.
That'd be a laugh.
It's literally in the name what it says on the tin. Fast Action Friday. It's about 20 minutes, half an hour long. And we just have some fun on a Friday.
Yeah, happy days. So what are we doing, Bren? Tell us about the plan of what we up to tonight. How are we going to break this down?
You're going to have to bear with me because he's asked me to host this now. So it's a bit like Garth taking over Wayne's World. Do you know what I mean? You're the pressure. Go on. So anyway, the plan for tonight. So we've each picked 2 IDPs that we feel are going to perform or outperform their current sort of ADPs. Players, who we are targeting in drafts, why we think they're going to have a good sort of 22. And after that, we're going to go through, as I think we touched on, some recent drafts that Nathan Lewis have been involved in, find out who they took, reasons behind that. But first and foremost, let's get into sort of some of the players we want to look at for 22. And I think Nath, you're kicking us off. So, who's your first sort of one to watch for the coming season?
Mine, I'm picking a well-known player first, and the guy I've picked is Jeremy Chin. Now, for people who don't know who Jeremy Chin is, I'm surprised if you're watching this and you don't know who Jeremy Chin is, but he is he's a safety for the Carolina Panthers. They made a big move up in 2020 draft. They moved up to number 64 overall to acquire this guy. He has had 2 good years of exceptional production. Really, he's got a dual designation on sleeper, so he can play you can pick him as a linebacker, which you wouldn't do, or as a DB. However, I mean, that can be really useful in certain exceptions, which I'll speak about in a minute. But the big thing about Jeremy Chin is that he is a part of a Carolina team that has not been performing, and for me, we have not seen this kid's ceiling yet. And that's what I want to talk about. I got a feeling that his first Pro Bowl selection is a realistic target in 2022. He's got defensive coordinator Steve Wilkes working with him, and Chin is he's a safety that has got, because he's got this experience at playing at outside linebacker, which he's sort of done in this first year, and in this sort of modern defensive era that we're in, where safeties have got to be, I don't like using the word, like I've said before on this thing, a hybrid sort of player, a player that can do multiple things and used in multiple ways. But at the end of the day, he's one of these players that any team in the NFL would love to have, because it is his usage up in the box and his ability to rush the quarterback, as well as his normal is good. He's a decent coverage player as well. So the reason why I think he's primed for a big 2022 is it's mainly I'm all about value when it comes to drafting, and obviously selecting the players that I want to select. And I'm starting to see Chin go reasonably late in drafts compared to last year. He's going a few rounds later than Derwin James and Jamal Adams, and he's going behind in a few drafts that I've done behind Minka Fitzpatrick and Buda Baker. And I put that down to because he finished as the DB11 in 2021. And I just feel that secondary in Carolina was banged up a lot of 2021. And when you've got a player like Jeremy Chin, you want to be able to use him when the opposition is not expecting you to use him. Bring him up to the box in different plays that they're not looking at, and make him do things that they're not expecting. Now, to do that, you really got to have a pretty settled defense a lot of the time, and be confident with the rest of the team behind you if you're going to bring up your safety to do some of those things. And that's why I feel in 2021 he wasn't used as much in those ways as I think that Carolina would have wanted to. I mean, they lost JC Horn all season, rookie DB, rookie corner, excellent. He's fit this year. Dante Jackson missed 4 games, and it was just generally a messed up season for Carolina, especially in that secondary. They had issues at linebacker as well, depth, which they've tried to address this year. So hopefully a settled defense for Carolina means that Chin will get more chances to make those splash plays, those big plays like rushing the quarterback. And, like I said, he's good at a lot of things, but there's parts of the season where he wasn't being used to the full potential in 2021. And I hope that's the way he's going to be in 2022. The good thing for picking a player like Chin as well is that over those 2 seasons, he had 117 combined tackles in 2020 and 107 in 2021. So he gives you that tackle, that solid tackle floor number, which I think is important when you're picking up your DBs. But what separates him for me over, say, somebody like Minkah Fitzpatrick is the ability to rush the quarterback. 5 QB hits in both seasons so far and a sack in both. Now, for me, both of those can be. He's got room to move up. So, and as I mentioned, he's got that dual eligibility that is. It can be used. It's quite important actually in stuff like best ball. I don't know how you feel about him, Lewis, but in that sort of thing where in best ball, I like to have those dual players because you don't know who's going to be out week to week. And if the fact is that, say you've got 4 linebacker spots or 3 linebacker spots, 3 DBs, then Chin could fill 6 spots there, and then none of those are flexes. You know what I mean? So it's kind of cool.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like you don't get it as much with the offense, but now and again where you had like Cordarrelle that was a running back and wide receiver. And it gives you a flex player without having a flex player, without using them in the flex position. So Absolutely. And there's so many linebacker D-line and linebacker DBs that with the dual designation, and there really is an advantage if you can pick them out. To having them on your team, even like you say with best ball, brilliant. But even in redraft or dynasty,
it's still enough.
It's still an advantage having people like that.
Yeah, of course.
Especially if you've got someone that's going to be playing linebacker, racking up tackle after tackle after tackle. Yeah. But then you've got him in your DB spot.
Divine Diablo, he was one last year as well, wasn't he, for the Raiders? But yeah, so I mean, that's my thing on that's my talk about Jeremy Chin, and that's why I got a feeling that he could have a good 2022. I wouldn't be surprised if to see Jeremy Chin right up there at the top of the pile in those safeties. But as lots of people talk about, it is a bit of a minefield at DB. The only good thing I would say about these players like Chin and that are not Chin isn't really a boom or bust player because he's got that tackle floor as well. So I would say he's a consistent player, but he does have that upside. I mean, he could end up with a fair few more sacks than he's had and things like that. And in a high scoring sack league, then he's a player that I would definitely consider. Any thoughts there, Mr. Veal, on Mr. Chin?
Yeah, well, I mean, you've kind of touched on it. I mean, I think last summer we talked about we were quite sort of high on the Panthers' sort of defense, these young players, and then it all went a bit south. Obviously, JC Horn going out with a broken foot at week 3 or whenever it was. I think, like you say, the set of defense. The interesting thing is, well, I mean, for a start, like you said, they're going to have Horn back. That's going to be a major plus for them. They've also brought in players that I think are certainly going to help Chin. We've got Denzel Perryman coming in, who's going to, help stop the run. Hassan Reddick's going to help with the pass rush side of things, and like you've touched on, hopefully that's going to free up sort of Chin to do more of what he does well. And the interesting thing is, like you said, he was used as a bit of a hybrid player. The Panthers have come out in the last month and said he is going to be used pretty much exclusively in that safety role, but whether that would have an effect or not on his sort of fantasy performances. But then, given how the safeties are used in that sort of flexible role, I don't really see, but like I said, with the addition of some of the players they brought in, I can't see any reason why, those QB pressure numbers are going to come out. I mean, he had 10 last season, a few more sacks. Like I said, the tackle numbers are already there. So, yeah, I think they've put a few pieces in and around Chin that, would definitely help this season. So, yeah.
Happy days.
Yeah.
So that's Mr. Chin done. Who's up next, mate?
Right. Well, I'm gonna kick off my first one. I'm going. Well, in fact, both of mine are sort of quite similar. I've gone a bit further down, sort of the ADP sort of pecking order, looking at sort of the latest stats from sort of Fantasy Pros and stuff like that. I'm going with the year 2 player. I'm going with Kwity Paye. Had an okay first year. Finished sort of DL 106, but to be fair, he started the 21 season with a hamstring injury. As I said to Nath before the show, it's a little bit, you expect a rookie player going into that sort of second sophomore season you should see an uptick with any sort of, reasonable player on either side of the ball, I think. So the question is, what is around Paye and what's going to help him sort of kick on from those, stats in 21. I mean, he finished with 93 points, averaging 6 points a game. Not stellar by any stretch. So that would explain sort of why he's down there. Going off a lot of boards round about sort of, DE 28, something like that. So for a start, I think, I've been sort of quite, keen on the Colts defense, certainly since the second half of last season. I expect some players around him, like some Buckner, to have another solid season. Pickup of Yannick Ngakoue, bringing pressure from the outside on the opposite side, should create a few more opportunities for Paye. He had 39 sort of QB pressures last season. That's decidedly better than some of the players that had consistently gone off the board above him, like Jalen Phillips, Jonathan Greenard. Both of those seem to have been going off the board anywhere between 8 and 12 picks above the likes of Kwity Paye, which surprises me a bit because there has been, I don't think this will be a shock, suggestion by any stretch. There have been, read numerous articles. There's a lot out there that are, tipping Paye to sort of really kick on this season. So, to be fair, I look back at our mock draft that we did one of the last podcasts before the break, and it didn't even come off the board in ours, with 12 teams in it. So, the other thing is, going back to the Colts defense, I quite like the schedule. It's a good Colts defense. Someone like Paye could really sort of profit. They've got to play the Jags and Texans twice. They're playing, Washington with Carson Wentz under center. They've got the Giants. The Giants will possibly carry on being Giants. They go up against the Steelers, possibly rookie QB there. They've got the Broncos with our old friend Russ having Nat Wilson, who, so I can see, those 4 sacks that Kwity picked up just based on those teams that they're going up against, and this good Colts defense, and like I said, the addition of someone like Ngakoue. And then also, they brought in this new defensive coordinator, Gus Bradley, and he does like to, from what I've read online, he tends to prioritize the pass rush over an out-and-out sort of blitz for the defense. That will work in Kwity's favor as well, I feel. So, yeah, I think although you put all those things around the schedule, the fact that he's playing in good defense anyway, good addition in Ngakoue, new D coordinator coming in. I can see him having a real uptake this season. So, yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I totally agree with all of that. Really, I think I don't get it with Kwity Paye as well. Really, I know your next pick is as well, Brent. So, they're 2 players that when you get to them, it's just sometimes I think I mentioned it before. It's sort of like this sexy pick idea, and I just don't think that Kwity seems to. Well, I think it's the Colts anyway. I don't think necessarily as a defense that they sort of even though they're very good, it's like the flash players, apart from Leonard, then no one's really, I don't know, just for me anyway, nobody really sort of jumps out at me to go, oh yeah, you've got to take me. But I must say, with this, and like you said about that, the teams that they're up against, I mean, that is, yeah, I mean, when you talk about when we're going to be doing our week in, week out, start and sit kind of thing, he's going to come up, because if he's against those kind of QBs week in, week out, pretty much, then, we're going to bring that to everyone's attention anyway. So with that in mind, yeah, he looks like somebody that is definitely, should be on people's radar, put it that way. What's your thoughts, Lewis?
So, yeah, I mean, I think it's a bit of a sleeper pick, to be honest. And you've just brought it to everybody's attention now. I'll certainly keep an eye out towards the end of my drafts in the future now. But yeah, it's all about opportunity, I feel, with the IDP. If you've got a player that's going to get the chance, like against them sort of quarterbacks,
yeah,
then he will improve on last year. Definitely, in my opinion. And if you're getting him basically for free at the end of your draft, or like you say, he didn't even get drafted in a mock that you did, if that was in a league, you can grab him off waivers before week 1.
Yeah, and then obviously in the dynasty side of things, I mean, it's the second year, so I mean, this guy, he should be, he's,
get him off your taxi squad.
Yeah, it's a stash play anyway. Whether you want to start him or not, you should be looking at players like that.
Yeah, and that's really what surprised me. As I say, when I sort of drilled down into the Fantasy Pros number, and you're looking at it, and you're dropping all the way down to like tier 11 picks, and he's sitting there, and you're going, there's been plenty of articles out there, loads of the pundits who know more about the game than we do, going, he's going to have a breakout season, and yet the fantasy drafts seem to just go, no, he's not, like you say. No, maybe he's not sexy enough, or he's not a big name, or
so much
he plays for the Colts. Yeah, so
especially on edge rushers, mate. I tell you what, it is true. It's like coming off the ball. You go.
I think the other thing with the Colts is, on the other side of the ball, the improvement of the offense as well, bringing Matt Ryan in. The Colts had to be good on defense last season. I think hopefully with Ryan coming in, all right, he's maybe not the gunslinger he was, but you can see that offense being better as well. And again, maybe take a bit of the pressure off because, with Wentz last season, they had to be on point. They had to be firing because, they were just, the offense just kept giving the ball away too cheaply. So hopefully, that'll be less of a factor as well. So again, that's another little, point towards, picking up some of these Colts players. So
Absolutely.
Anyway, okay. Right, let's turn it over to our illustrious guest. Who are you going with first, Lewis?
So, as I just said, with me for IDP, obviously it's nice to look back on stats from previous years and everything like that, but it's all about the situation of the year upcoming, especially with your redrafts and your best balls for me. And this guy, he wasn't in a solid situation last year, but he had a top 5 season the year before, Jordan Hicks, who has come to Minnesota, and I absolutely love it for NFL and fantasy football. So we've got the new head coach and general manager, as everybody knows, and our new defensive coordinator, Ed Donatel. He's won a Super Bowl. They've changed the defense. They've gone to a 3-4, and he's going to sit behind an interior of a defensive line, which is shoddy. And you ain't going to run at Eric Kendricks. So Jordan Hicks, like you said about a tackle floor, he's going to roll back to how he played in 2020, I believe. And he's just going to rack up the tackles on them running backs. Because the pass rush is as good as most in the NFL with Hunter and Smith coming in. So teams are going to focus on the run, I think, a lot against Minnesota if they can. And I think Hicks is going to eat for that reason, and I'm drafting him everywhere because I'm not 100% sure on what his ADP is, but you can get him in double-figure rounds easy. Kendricks goes off the board way earlier.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised if he outscores Kendricks this year.
Yeah,
they're going to be next to each other. That is a strong tandem, and Jordan Hicks, he's my first guy.
Yeah. Well, he's going off round about sort of LB 25. So, yeah. There's certainly some value there. Sorry, Nath, go on. You were going to jump in.
Yeah, I mean, it's real interesting when you talk about the sort of tandems, and when you talk to people that don't play IDP, it's real difficult for people to look at it and say, right, okay, you've got a middle linebacker, or what was traditionally a middle linebacker. It's not really done like that anymore. A lot of teams play with what we call a linebacker 1 and a linebacker 2, a more of a coverage guy and more of a run stopping guy. That is kind of like a little bit of a default. I mean, but there's particular teams that have also scored particularly well with both linebackers. I mean, Atlanta last year, with obviously Deion Jones didn't have a great year, but with him and Alucon both scoring like they scored. And also going back to us, the Vikings. I mean, what's his name? Nick Vigil. He filled in last year, and he scored particularly quite well as that second linebacker in Minnesota. And before Anthony Barr as well. I mean, Anthony Barr always scored at half decent. So both linebackers produce it at Minnesota traditionally anyway.
Even before Vigil, he had a few splashy weeks last season, but Eric Wilson the year before.
Yeah.
With Barr, when Barr was out, he really stepped up to the plate. And I was a bit gutted to lose him, to be honest, last season. And but like you say, it seems to be in Minnesota, even the last few seasons before the change in personnel to who's going to be running the show, it's they've always stacked up double linebackers. Eric Kendricks, obviously. Yeah. And then whoever the number 2 is.
Yeah, that's it. And I think like you said, it's mainly down towards that interior. It's that strength of the interior and the force, and trying to force oppositions to try and run the ball straight down the throat, really. And when you've got 2 hitters that are, Kendricks and Hicks, I mean, it definitely excites me. I'm not sure really whether I'm not sure whether it might dent Kendricks slightly, because the problem is what I've seen with Kendricks, especially, is I'm not a great believer of his long-term fitness, and starting to see a few little niggles. They took him off quite a few snaps the back end of last season, even when we really needed him, and it was like they were nursing him a little bit through it to make sure, because he does cover a lot of ground, and he does, he puts his body on the line to the point of where, I often watch the game with one hand behind, thinking, oh God, please don't be carted off, because we didn't really have anybody like him. But with Jordan Hicks, and also with Jordan Hicks, I mean, a lot of people forget, like last year for the Cardinals, it was all about Simmons and Zavon Collins, and everybody got all excited. And it was still Hicks that sort of took the mantle when they didn't really do it. In that linebacker spot, even though we knew they'd already told him he was on his way out at the start of the season. It was common knowledge. We all thought he was going to go. Then he stayed there, become the sort of like lead linebacker ish, and then goes to the Vikings. So I totally agree with you, Lewis. I think he's a great pickup, and I think I wouldn't be surprised if he's right bang up there again, because that's how he plays as well. Jordan Hicks, that's how he plays. It's tackles.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, I agree with everything you both said. It's just, it was. I worry for. I think it may prove to be a shrewd move by the Cards. I don't know, but like you say, I mean, 116 tackles, but they seem to be. I mean, they've only saved $6.5 million by cutting him anyway. So you think, was it really? Is that really worth it? And you're putting an awful lot of stock, as Nate said, in Isaiah Simmons and Zavon Collins. I think that the Vikings, on the face of it, could be the net beneficiaries of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a steal. Like we've took it, but I think with the Cardinals as well, they're happy with their two young guys. They feel like they've not got to worry about their sort of linebacker core for the next couple years or whatever if they re-sign both of them off after their rookie contracts. And I think that's why they was happy to sort of get rid of Hicks. Because they've re-signed Ertz, they've re-signed Connor on the other side of the ball. So, It's only 6.5 million, but it's still money for them.
Yeah.
It's all about that. But the only thing I just worry about the Cardinals from that point of view, because I just haven't quite seen enough from. I mean, Simmons is a different kind of player than Hicks. I mean, he's in a funny way, he's more talented and more rangy, and he can do a lot more things. However, but as an out and out tackler, I just looked at it. So you look at Collins trying to maybe take that role. I don't know. I'm just not seeing enough. I would have, they seem to be, like you said, they seem to be all in on those two. Hope for them it pays off, but
they'll soon find out come October. Get to week 6 and see how they do. Teams are running into the middle of it.
Yeah. They sign Schobert off waivers.
Yeah, well.
I wouldn't mind Schobert getting signed by someone. I kept him in the BFFL, so
yeah.
Fingers crossed, mate. Right, okay, that's the first round done. So let's shoot back to Nath. So are you taking who's your second pick then, mate?
It's TJ Edwards. It's got to be in it. I've got to have a rant. So anybody that watches this,
we can't get through a pod without discussing the Eagles. So it's becoming a real problem. Really is.
It is becoming a bit of a problem.
The Eagles and the Colts come up.
I've got to let it go, but I can't let it go because these drafts that I'm in keep infuriating me to the point of where I don't get it. Right. So TJ Edwards. Right. Why is this drop happened again with TJ Edwards? Right. Now, we're seeing this drop in value since the draft. Now, I don't get it because everybody that I watch, listen to, and everybody that I've sort of spoken to about it, everyone seems to be on the agreement that after the draft, after they drafted Nakobe Dean, that TJ Edwards has still got the job this season. So now I'm drafting in loads and loads of redraft charity leagues, and he has dropped off the scale. It is crazy how far he is. Now, I still think it is his job to lose. So I'm picking him up all over the place. For this year one, absolutely. Now, we know about Kazir White as being the linebacker 2. I think he is the linebacker 2, and I think he's the coverage linebacker and a bloody good one. I'm not knocking Kazir White, but I don't think he's completely different kind of linebacker to TJ Edwards. Last season, we watched Philly work out that Singleton is horrible, and they eventually got rid of him. And, they eventually pushed him to one side. TJ took over, and he did a fine job of doing it. The sleeper rankings, I know it's only sleeper, and they can't be trusted, but they do sort of paint a picture. Kazir White is, at the moment, this is fantasy and frame scoring. This is the thing that we use for some of our leagues that we do. Now, Kazir White is the linebacker 29 coming off behind Bobby Okereke, which is your LB2 at the Colts. Nakobe Dean is the linebacker 35, which I think is fair because, again, it does take in the dynasty idea into, at the end of the day, we know Nakobe Dean's going to be the guy, or we think he is. And TJ Edwards is at 62, and that is a few places in front of Willie Gay. Now, oh my God, I don't know what people are doing, but there we go. Fine, I'll take him. 88% of defensive snaps he had from week 9 last year to the finish. 88% of defensive snaps. He was averaging around 16 to 17 points per game in those games he played. In the 9 games he was involved in from week 8 onwards, he was averaging 10 tackles plus. So now I know, like I said, the dynasty pick is Nakobe Dean, the long-term pick. But for year one, for me, it's got to be TJ Edwards. And if he plays all season at that rate, he is going to be in the mix he's going to be a linebacker 1. He's going to be in the top 12. He's going to be close to it. And if you're picking him up at linebacker 65 or whatever you are, I mean, you're in realms of crazy value. So there you go. That's my little rant on TJ Edwards and the Philly linebacker debacle, which, but I just don't see what's changed. I mean, Mike Wooler I believe he's getting his green pen out this week, and he's going to start doing the dots, finding out who's got that dot. But I would think it would be TJ Edwards. I mean, it's not going to be Kazir White, and it's not going to be Nakobe Dean. I mean, is it? Well, let's wait and see. But let's see. But if it is, if they do start, if he does have the green dot on his helmet, that is going to jump really quickly up. He's going to be taken right bang up there again. But at the moment, go and grab him. Even just grab him.
Well, I'll back up your little rant, and I'll add to it a little bit as well, because you've touched on it, but you've already mentioned that when he was slotted in at that middle linebacker position at week 8, right? And I picked up a few articles because when Nath mentioned he was doing TJ Edwards, I thought, right, here we go. Okay, so he took over starting middle linebacker. Now I look on Pro Football Focus, right? The Eagles' defensive grade between him taking on that role on week 17, the defensive grade went from 25th in the league to 5th. In the same period, the opponent's rushing went from 133 yards gained to 79. So they went from 29th to 2nd in the league from week 8 to the end of the season.
Part due to TJ Edwards and part due to Singleton not being in that, because he's like a bloody.
No, I mean, obviously, Jonathan Gannon, the coordinator there, he's got to take some credit. But again, you're talking about some of the players, and look at snap count as well. That was something else I looked at. 684, 130 tackles, sort of last season. But I mean, just going on the tackle numbers alone, like you say, you got Bobby Ariki, Deion Jones, 137, Isaiah Simmons. And they're all going off, sort of linebacker 20, 15, 24. I agree. It doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, I'm not saying he single-handedly turned the Eagles' defense around, but
I would stress it as well. It's not a dynasty pick, because I don't think TJ Edwards is the guy. I just think he's a good, solid linebacker, and I think what you've got there is, again, you've got a rookie that's come in, and you've got a really good coverage guy. So there's a gap there to fill, and he's that man that fills it, and that's where the points are. These are run stopping tackle numbers. That's what he's after.
Yeah.
What do you reckon, Lewis? You had any TJ Edwards?
The only thing I was going to add. The only thing I was going to add to it is Nakobe Dean is coming off the board. You says like 30 spots earlier, or something like that. And there's a reason he slid in the NFL draft.
I know.
For like, I don't know what the reason is. I know he's possibly hurt or something like that, but I am not touching him in Dynasty either. Like, there's a reason he fell so far for being someone so highly ranked.
Yeah, was it middle of third round, wasn't it? Or what?
Pick 84 overall, or something like that. And like, you've got to look at that. There's a reason. And is he going to be ready week 1?
No chance.
That's what I mean. So for me, it's ridiculous.
Doug's not going to do that, is he? Come on, they're going to look for some stability in this team that he's taken over. He's going to want to be making sure that they do their jobs. They got enough work to do offensively to sew it all together than muck around too much with the defense there. I think the defense could be reasonably settled if they, Kazir White's great. He's a great addition. I do rate him highly. I mean, when he moved to linebacker the Chargers, it was great to see somebody, be able to take that position on and also, really fit in. And I think he'll do a good job.
Yeah, I mean, even in leagues with just a DST, I don't even mind picking up the Eagles a bit later, then, because people do like to go off and get like the top teams, Buffalo, Tampa Bay, and the other one that's falling in that is Washington as well. But I don't mind picking up the Eagles. Let everybody else have their pick first, and then I'll just take them. Like, I think they'll be all right this year. Yeah,
they will. I think so.
Right, that's the Eagles section of the podcast.
That's my rant.
That's it. God, Lewis is on the Philly bandwagon as well.
I'm on board. I am on board. Yeah.
Right. God, let's get off this Eagles bandwagon for a minute. Right. Okay. Moving on to my second one. So I've gone, as Nate touched on earlier, I've gone with someone, both of my picks are sort of fairly similar. And again, I'm going for another year 2 player, and it's going to be Greg Rousseau at the Bills. Had a slightly better rookie season than Quitty, all right, factoring the injuries and all the rest of it. Finished up DL 44 with 144 points last season, averaging about 8.5 a game. I already like his tackle numbers. They're sort of based on a rookie season. He's very young going into sort of, just turned 22. Again, I'm looking for reasons why, as I touched on with the first one, you're expecting this uptick with a good player going into year 2. So he's sort of, a bit of a no-brainer, but it's a question of, what's sort of adding to that. Well, he's playing in the best defense in the league, which is going to help. The tackle numbers from last season already put him in the top 10 sort of DLs. And looking at some of the players, again, going back to some of these ADPs that are going off the board before him, bearing in mind, the defense he is playing in and that other, that extra experience he's sort of got going into this year. You've got JJ Watt going off earlier. Fitness issues would be, a major concern. Montez Sweat, bit of a gamble. He's had personal problems again. It's, people seem to be happy to take a punt on him, a lot earlier on. Eric Armstead, well, Russo's numbers were better than him in his rookie year, and he's 6 years younger. So from a dynasty perspective, I'd be looking at Russo over someone like Eric Armstead. You've got some of the rookies going off considerably earlier. Thibodeau, Aiden Hutchinson. We all like them as players, and we can all see the potential there, but they haven't seen the competitive snap yet. So why they're going off so much earlier, I don't know. But we're back to the sort of COVID, some of this hype around the rookies. Is it really warranted? He's I think with what it boils down to is, he's had a full 17-game season, unlike the likes of Quitty Pay. He's had a full off season with the Bills. The numbers are just, I can't see them not improving. One subtle thing I think may be a factor as well was the addition of Von Miller to the Bills defense. I think that could be really, really key for someone like a Rousseau, a young player, because Von Miller, we're not entirely sure how much he's going to factor in this sort of 22 Bills defense. He will be a factor. They haven't signed him and sit on the sidelines, but you bring in someone with that experience and talent, and someone like Rousseau is just going to latch onto that. He'll learn from him and he'll listen to him. I just think everything again, a bit like Quitty Pay, would point to him having a good uptick this season. Again, looking at the draft, I am struggling with some of these players that are going off that much earlier than someone like him. Okay, some of those players, if you're in a redraft league, I get that, but especially if you're playing Dynasty and looking to build, or if you're in a rebuild position and he's available, I would consider going and getting him all day long.
Agree. I think as well. I think from a Bills perspective, then everyone could see. I think it was glaringly obvious where the Bills lacked and why they didn't quite make the grade and why they didn't quite make it last year. And it was the fact that their inability to get pressure to the quarterback. If they could have done, they might have gone all the way. That was a lot of people's view, and they went out and got Von Miller. Don't blame them for doing that. And Greg Rousseau should, I agree, I really think he should benefit. I think it's going to be an area of, they are going to concentrate highly on that area. They're going to be looking to make sure that they start to, I would expect as well, the safeties might also slightly benefit as well. You might even see a player like Matt Milano maybe get a couple more sacks this year, because I just think that that's what they're really going to push for it. Because it's all right in winning by 40 points every week or whatever they do, blowing people away offensively. But when you come to those big games, defensively, you've got to get pressure. And especially on a Brady or or a Mahomes, that's what you've got to do. And because they didn't, they always allowed their opposition back into the game. And that's where they needed to knock them off. And they just couldn't do it. And for me, that's why I would say that Greg Rousseau is a really good pickup. A really good pickup. And I don't understand why, again, another player, don't understand why others are not backing him a bit more, really.
I think rookies in IDP, when you were talking about redraft leagues, I think in IDP, people seem to draft them higher for longer. So if you're doing a redraft draft, you shouldn't be, but a few months ago, and you're going to be taking Olave and you're going to be taking all them guys really early because of the rookie hype, I think it sticks around longer in IDP. Because even now, there's guys going. He says about Thibodeau going before him, Hutchinson and that. But the Bills, they've got all the firepower in the world. They need the defense to make stops when they got a team coming back at them with the same firepower, or maybe not quite as good, but someone who can easily put 40 up as well.
Yeah.
So I think he's a great pick for this year as well.
Yeah. Totally agree. Okay. Good pick, Brad.
Okay. Right. Over to you, Lewis. Wrap it up with your last pick.
Yeah. So Kyle Duggar, he's going into his third season with the Patriots. Number one, I think their defense will be really busy. And it was towards the end of his rookie season. He missed a few weeks with injury. And then he started to play like 40, 50% of the snaps. And, and he looked all right. He had a few splash weeks and stuff. And then last season, the amount he improved in coverage in general, and he played that 40 to 50% every week, sometimes more than 50%. He had a monster week against the Ravens. I think he put up 12 tackles, if I remember now. And hello. And and I just think he carries on taking that leap forward. Plus, I've seen some speculation a little while ago, before all the camp started and everything, about he could be getting used as linebacker as well, similar to Jeremy Chin. And out of the 3 DBs that year that came out, Winfield, Duggar and Chin, I think he's the one to prove himself this year. The other 2 guys have done it a little bit, and I think Duggar's going to take that step. Yeah,
well, Bren knows I'm a massive Kyle Duggar fan. Absolutely massive Kyle Duggar fan. I think he, I think the big thing was, I loved it with the fact that nobody had a clue who he was when he was drafted by the Patriots, and it was you suddenly knew that they knew more than everyone else did about this guy. And last year, like you said, he really proved it. And I think you're right. I think they are going to use him in multiple ways. They've obviously brought other safeties in as well, which is quite interesting, which might actually free up Duggar to, because at linebacker, they're not particularly that strong. I don't think they are, the Patriots.
They did lose Van Noy as well, I believe. And he's not returning. And I think, I know Duggar played a little bit of linebacker in college as well. Yeah, it was small school, the same as Chin, but they were still good, both of them.
Yeah.
And so he's done it before. I know it's a different level now, but with their coaching system, and he'll be ready wherever they want him to play. I think he's a nasty guy.
I know, and I think that's what I think. And you know what Bill's all about as well. The thing is even there was a few flashes last season, which he might have overstepped the mark a couple of times and got involved in things that he shouldn't have really got involved in. But I tell you what, that fire for me that's what will separate him, I think, in that team. And I think there's a big potential there that Kyle Duggar could be something more than we've seen so far.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
It's the interesting thing is, you talk about some of the performances last season, and yet that was despite him getting not as much time on the field as some of the other players that have gone off the board above him, which makes it even more impressive. There was an article on ESPN's website on Monday, and they actually rated him as sort of the best big nickel back in the league. And by what they're highlighting that, and it touches on what you've discussed about how they're going to use him potentially this season because of the shortfall, maybe at linebacker or whatever. And the reason they were highlighting him as sort of, arguably the best big nickel back in the league was that flexibility, that strength against the run, but being quick enough in coverage to deal with the tight ends, to deal with the slot receivers. And the article also highlighted the fact that he was a key factor in the Pats finishing best DVOA in the league against tight ends last season. So it all goes to just highlight, what a good, versatile player he is. And I think, and with the flexibility that we know the Pats play with, and the way they adapt constantly to different offenses, and like say the way Bill, sets the team out, and I think he could be a key factor because of those strengths.
And the Pepper signing was interesting as well, because I mean that again is. I just think there's something there that is telling people that they're not gonna. They don't do the norm anyway. We know the Patriots don't play a normal set defense, and they don't stay in their. They don't stay in their positions. They don't. They have people that are wander out, and they'll create different looks to the opposition just to completely throw them off. And they'll stick to it, which is the difference between a lot of other teams that drop back into formation way too early. But the Patriots are hold. And somebody like Duggar and people like Peppers, players like that, Phillips is another one. They're all very interactive players that can do quite a lot of different things. And I'll tell you what, to somebody like Belichick, if he gets it right, I mean, I think they're going to be a decent defense. They're a good DST for me as well, the Patriots, because again, I don't know why they seem to be left alone as well, because they're again not as sexy as a Chargers or whatever, because they haven't made those big wholesale signings.
People don't like them, and as a Dolphins fan, I completely agree with that.
But that's what they got to do, though. But that's their game plan, isn't it? The thing is look at their offense. I mean, it's shite. It is, isn't it? You're like looking at them, what are you doing? You're picking up these wide receivers that don't get on the field in ever. You've got no idea, like, with what they're going to do week on week. Best ball, okay, I can get on board with their wide receivers and even their running backs. But any other week where you have to start one, you may as well spin a wheel. Who are you going to pick? Who's going to be the one that Mac Jones is going to hit that week? But I think if Duggar gets given the dual eligibility as well on like sleeper and things like that, I think you'll see him start coming off the board a little bit sooner than he is as well. But I really like him for this year too.
Yeah, that's a good check. Right. So those finished up. So you want to have a bit of a chat about?
Should we have a gander at a draft? Give me 2 seconds. Let me see if I can share. I'm going to have this screen up, and then let's see if I can get it. So it's. How's that? Is that full screen?
That is, yeah, I believe.
Can you see? Can you see our picks? I can see our picks. I don't know whether everybody. I'm sure the people at home can see it because their screen's going to be bigger than ours. But I mean,
it's fine.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's go through your lot. Obviously, you took your 2 QB. What did I do? I bet I done 2 QBs off first as well. Standard.
So this is the FF7s one, right?
Yeah.
So that's not the full board because there's 16 teams in each league.
Yes. Yeah. There's more over this.
Yeah, and I'm at 116. I don't know if it's because I won a division last year or if it was random. I'm not 100% sure. So being super flex and but then there's a lot of focus on the IDP in this tournament.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry about the humble brag there, but.
I know, mate. It's good though, mate. Well, I tell you what, yeah, you rocked it you absolutely smashed it last year. This one,
a lot of it. Yeah, it's very hard. There's a lot of good players in it as well. That people that know what they're doing and things like that. And a lot of it was down to the waiver wire really last year. I believe I got a bit lucky with. I can't remember off the top of my head any, but like a few players that came in and hit. And but I think Kendricks was the first one off the board for me, linebacker there. Yeah, so Kendricks completely contradicting what I said earlier about Jordan Hicks. About I think he could outscore him.
Mate, but, if he's there though, it's good value. When you think about it, if I'm looking at the ones in front of him, you've got Simmons has gone off before him.
Yeah, but I would not touch that. No chance.
No. I mean, that's a gamble, isn't it? It's such a gamble to call that. I mean, he might do. He might go off the scale. He might be one of those guys who just, he develops into something really special. And he could do. He has got all the tools. It's just, we just haven't seen that turn into any fantasy points yet. And Kendricks is a safer pick for me. What did I go with
absolutely.
first? I went Leonard early. I know, yeah. He's got a new first name now, hasn't he?
Yeah, Shaquille.
Not Darius anymore. There you go.
Yeah, so
Sorry, a bit of useless information for everybody there. So let's go down. Yeah, I took Jeremy Chin.
Yeah. I mean, I'd never go D-line as early as I got auto-picked, and Chase Young was in my queue.
Was he?
So, yeah. And I wouldn't have went for him that early. I wouldn't have went D-line that early in general. But, you know, if he comes back how we all know he can play, he's an absolute freak. Yeah. So I'm not too unhappy about it. Zach Cunningham as well.
Yeah,
he's another one like Hicks who has had great years, and you know I think he'll be more solid this year again.
Yeah, it's an interesting one there, isn't it? Because people are quoting David Long as being the guy, but I mean, I don't know why people like not hate on Cunningham, but kind of. It's strange because he had that season where he absolutely smashed it. With the Texans, but it's like I don't know. I don't see why he couldn't do that potentially again. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty confident with the pick that that's someone I can start every week, like, and not have to worry about it other than his bye week.
Yeah. Are you a Holcomb fan? I took Holcomb quite early.
I don't mind him. I like most of the Washington players, to be honest with you. Well, not most of them, but like they got a good few players on defense, and I think last year was just a bit of a blip for them. And they're another one that's a DST that I expect they'll bounce back this year as well.
But they're also they're exactly, and they're definitely one of those teams as well that play. It's defense first, really. I know they're investing quite a lot into the offense at the moment and trying to get that going. But at the end of the day, they're kind of built that way. I always think they are. I always look at Washington and think, look, defense first. The end of the day, they've got players that can make that happen. Obviously, fitness is the problem. I think when again they don't seem to be able to have all of those starting players, and now they've got a bit. I think they've got. I like Cameron Curley as well at safety. But yeah, so who else is there? I took Devin Lloyd early. I don't know why.
He'll be a busy boy though.
Yeah, that's it. He's probably actually a safer pick than I'm kind of giving myself credit for. Deion Jones this year. I mean, the injury. There's an injury. There's the contract thing. He could be off. But he's the Atlanta linebacker, and we all know what Atlanta linebackers do in fantasy, and that's score points.
But it's going to be similar to the Patriots. Like they're not going to be able to get much going. I think their offense is actually better than the Patriots, maybe barring quarterback, unless Ridder comes in and does some magic. But they're not going to get nothing going.
No,
and the defense is going to be very busy.
Yeah, and again, you can see me down the bottom again taking TJ Edwards. I just don't get it. I just don't get why he's going that far. There's so many in front.
I'm surprised you waited that late.
I know. I did. I kept watching him. I was thinking. I was just pushing it. I reckon I probably could have gone on another round or two. I see. Zavin Collins is another one. Mind, he doesn't seem to be. He was on my list actually. You took him, Lewis, but he was on my list to take next because I was like,
I mean,
you can't.
I can reliably inform you that if you didn't pick TJ Edwards when you did, you wouldn't have got him.
Yeah, I kind of thought I was kind of getting to the point where they've got to have him.
I would have took him before Collins.
I felt
definitely.
I felt with Collins and Werner around there. I think Pete Werner's another player. I rate him as well. I think he could potentially get that job. I mean, everybody's waiting for DeMario to actually go, but he's still staying around. And while he stays around, I don't think he's going to have that chance to maybe take the linebacker one slot. So for me, I wouldn't quite pick him well. But then again, like I see Rich King's picked him, and you think to yourself, well, yeah, but it could be partway through this year, or it could be they could start to limit Demario Davis's time a little bit more on the field, but he does make such a difference at the moment. So, you know, yeah. So I mean, that's just go us just filling a gap. Really, we're going over a draft that we've sort of like we're actually still in the middle of. Seems to be going.
Yeah, well, I mean, every other division's finished. It's just us left going. I think there's a couple of rounds left. I've got Duggar in here as well.
Yeah.
The other guy, let me just 20 seconds. Al Shire from the 49ers. He stepped up last year.
Yeah.
He stepped in like he was meant to be there. And I know with Dre Greenlaw healthy, and then they obviously got Fred Warner. But I really think he could, even on limited snaps, maybe, I really think he could still score points.
I agree.
And it's a bit of a... By the time I drafted him as well, like I took Geno Smith before, and it's the time where you can afford to take a chance. Worst case, they hit waivers. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. And the thing is with Al Shahir as well, I do think he's got a better chance of getting that. I mean, people like Greenlaw because he is flashy and he hits extremely hard and he makes stupid things. But I don't know, to somebody like Shanahan that would watch that and go, he's not that kind of. That won't really overly impress him. That at the end of the day, it's all about doing your job. And I do think Al-Shahir is a safer linebacker too. Again, with Warner, I think they look better and more complete than when Dre's in there.
Like you say, the way Greenlaw plays, he leaves it all out there. There's always that chance of him hurting himself.
Yeah, there is.
Like
and everybody around him. Yeah.
And literally, yeah. And I don't mind that pick around there.
I agree, mate. I agree. But yeah, I mean, yeah. So what let's flip. Let's just flip just for this period. Let's flip offense. So who's your guys? I'll take this. Let's take this off now because that draft really shouldn't probably get that. But yeah, who's your guys? Who's your go-to guys at the moment that you find yourself picking?
Yeah, because first and foremost, I am a redraft player, and I write a bit on 5 Yard Rush redraft team as well as my own blog. And I really like Matt Ryan for this year as well. You touched on him earlier when you were talking about Quitty, and game management wise, he's a far better option than what they've had even probably the last 3 years.
Yeah, I think I got him QB2 in. I did. Yeah, he's QB2 in that draft for me.
In a super flex league, him as a QB2, you're safe.
Yeah.
You can afford to let it run and take your third quarterback as maybe a Pickett or Marriott or someone like that, because you're only going to need him for a bye week, and worst case, you just chuck a running back in or something.
Yeah, I don't know why. Again, he's somebody. I don't know. There's a lot of people that don't seem to be that high on him. They're quite happy to leave him on the board quite late on around some of the other quarterbacks, even in redraft, even your Trevor Lawrences and stuff like that, where you look at him and you go, okay. I mean, I feel more comfortable with somebody like Matt Ryan because you know what I mean. You kind of know, okay, it's a new offense, but it's a bloody good one. And a good offensive line. I don't think he's ever had a really good offensive line either.
No.
I don't think he won't know what to do with that.
And getting to this time in his career, whereas that's really going to help him.
Yeah.
Like he says, he might not be able to sling it like he used to, but Michael Pittman, he's fantastic as well. I think it elevates both of them to being together this year.
Yeah.
And he's another one I'm loving for this year, Pittman as well. But
yeah, I tell you what, I looked through. As soon as the news broke the other day about Tim Patrick, I looked through my bloody drafts, and I was like, he was my late round. I thought, there we go. He's like wide receiver 3. Russ would love a safe wide receiver 3. I'm thinking, hello, and also like he's that kind of guy, Patrick, that doesn't do anything wrong. He's a very safe sort of right.
I mean, like you say, Russ would love him because he likes to go to the outside, doesn't he? So,
but now it's got to be KJ Hamler in it. The wheels are. I've seen already. He is trending up massive.
He can get downfield as well. Hamler can.
Yeah, and
good. I think he would have found it hard to be relevant with Tim Patrick still there this year. I think with he's had some off-field issues as well to do with his family and stuff. I watched a video the other day, but he's here and he's ready. And then the day after, like with what happened to Tim Patrick, it's unfortunate. But Hamler has got the opportunity now to step into that wide receiver 3 role. Russell Wilson don't use tight ends.
No,
like,
not
since 2017. Like he's not had a tight end a top 12 tight end since 2017.
There is some additional bad news, unfortunately, though, because I'm just looking at sort of the week 1 fixtures in our Ray Lewis league. Well, right. I'm playing Lewis week 1, and you've got Tim Patrick.
Yeah. I mean,
you've got Carl Duggar in there as well again.
My IDP in that league is nice, but
it's good. Yeah, I'm a bit worried.
But the offense, I mean, I've got a lot of rookies in there. I think I've got Baker Mayfield as quarterback, and I don't have a super flex. Or is it Ridder as my super flex?
I've got Trey Lance.
Oh, I made that trade actually. Yeah, I forgot about that. So, that's the issue when you're in a lot of leagues, isn't it?
Yeah. Mate, I tell you what, I listened to I was actually listening to our flagship podcast, and they done a big bit on Trey Lance and with Joey PCB, and it was, I thought, God, I think Trey Lance is just, especially in the dynasty world, obviously, mind you, dynasty wise, he is coming at a premium, but also I just got a feeling, I think he could really, I reckon he could break into that top 6, 7, something like that. He could get up there. He could get in behind Kyler, somewhere like that. I don't know, but
his ceiling is out of this world, definitely. And for these big tournaments as well, like the Warrior Bowl, Scott Fish Bowl, them sort of things, they're the sort of players that they could win you this tournament or get you very close to the end.
Yeah. Totally
with their ceiling being so high.
Is your players then, Brent? If you were on the clock right now, what would you look? What would your
the offense? It was a bit of a steal.
Not the obvious ones. Just go for
someone I spoke to about it the other day in a home league, and I've seen him and sort of picked him up elsewhere as well. People seem to be overlooking it. I don't get it. Gabe Davis, the Bills, and it's okay. I mean, it's not he's not going to be one you sort of go, but. I mean, I'm going through a bit of a rebuild in a couple of leagues, and it was just you see him on the waivers, and you think,
I know which league you're talking about as well. But that league, why that's quite a big shout is because that is what is it 8 man? It's like an 8-man league, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not the biggest.
It's a tight league with really high level players,
and the rosters have been expanded a bit in the off season as well.
You're saying that Gabe Davis breaks into that. Really wide receiver 2 range, really, to actually make him relevant in there. And I'm like, it might be a bit rich for me at this stage, but certainly, I mean, being on that offense, no Cole Beasley, no Sanders, no, I mean, to me, it looks like he's got that wide receiver 2 job. And if he has,
I mean, with the points, I mean, Lewis touched on it, we were talking about the Bills defense, but the points they're likely to put up against a lot of teams. I mean, I can't see him not having a decent season barring injury. As I say, it's a later pick. It's a bit of a gamble. And sometimes you look at a player and you think, I quite fancy him to do well this season.
I think a lot of people get it because the thing is, it's very different. I'm being a wide receiver 2 in the Patriots or being the wide receiver 2 in the Bills. Or, you know what I mean? Sometimes when people go into this and they talk about where they sort of rank in what they are, you're like, but if you're in an offense that scores that much and is on the field that much, then the production equals those kind of things, which I know is obvious to us. But to others, sometimes they look at it and think, well, I don't get it. And you go, well,
no. The other one I've been picking up quite a bit, again, a bit later on, Tony Pollard at Dallas.
Bren, I really can't get on board with either of those two.
No, it's fine.
No, and especially Pollard. I mean,
I'm with you, Lewis.
If anybody that follows me on Twitter, if you don't, my @ is there and my handle, and you'll know that Zeke is my guy. Like, I really believe the Cowboys are just going to run him into the ground for as long as he got left. And Pollard is just splashy plays.
That's my only concern with Zeke. I mean, because they do rely on him so much, and like you say, the danger is, do they actually run him into the ground? I mean,
you see, he played with a torn pec last year. If he's hurt and they trust Pollard so much, then rest him.
Yeah,
Pollard would have played more.
Yeah.
He has splashy plays and stuff. So for best ball, I can get on board with it a little bit.
Yeah,
but I do not have the confidence to start him.
Yeah, I agree.
In a redraft league, and it's similar with Gabe Davis with that Bills offense. We know he's got Diggs, who is one of the best receivers in the league. Dawson Knox is Josh Allen's reliable target in the end zone.
Yeah.
Is Gabe Davis gonna get enough to get a wide receiver 2 sort of thing? Because he's getting drafted earlier and earlier as well.
Yeah. I mean,
again, in best ball, I'll take a shot.
Yeah, I'll take your point. I mean, again, sort of when you're looking at the value of it, and there does seem to be, and there has been, and maybe I've been guilty of buying into it a bit because there has been, on other podcasts and certain articles, a lot of talk about Davis and this sort of WR2 position and sort of being nailed on, and as we touched on, the type of offensive playing, and a lot of the talk is, well, it's a basic numbers game. They put up this many points and he's going to get a look in, but you've just made a very good point. Once you drill down into where Josh Allen likes to go and how they run that offense, then maybe it's maybe it is a bit too rich in a lot of leagues.
The only thing for me is, like, I look at sometimes, forget the player, look at the position. So like you're saying, the wide receiver 2 in the Bills, and this is where I think I'm kind of on the fence, and this is where I know what you're saying, Lewis, because it's about the value and where you're taking Gabe Davis. Yeah, if you're taking him at that wide receiver 3 range, I think you are. But it's when you get him in that wide receiver 2 range where you look at it and go, okay, I'm not sure whether I buy him, because also that wide receiver 2, don't forget, Gabe Davis for me was always that player that was open. So what they did is they run that offense, fucking Diggs, everybody's looking over there. Then you got Knox, then you got somebody like Cole Beasley and stuff, and then you get this Gabe Davis guy just wandering around over there, who's being picked up by somebody that has got nowhere near his pace, as quick as him, or is nowhere near as big as him, and therefore bops it in the end zone. He takes a catch, touchdown, Gabe Davis. Now, if he is the wide receiver 2, he's going to get much more attention, because that's what you do in those roles. You do get that, and also the wide receiver 2 role under Sanders didn't really put up those numbers last year. So if you
he had about 5 weeks, Sanders did.
He did,
Sorry, he had about 5 weeks last year, and he was brilliant. He was actually in my Warrior Bowl team, and then 5 weeks, and then he fell off a cliff. But I picked Dawson Knox up off waivers. And he's the one that come good as the second sort of, and it was mostly to do with his touchdowns, because he didn't have over a lot of targets, around 70.
Yeah.
And, I just think Davis will take the heat off Diggs a little bit, and I think that's why Diggs has a better year this year as well. Yeah,
that could be the uptick on Diggs. But again, I get where you're coming from, Brent, because you are looking at Gabe Davis making a step up in his career. The issue is just the value that you're going to get him up. And the thing is, with Pollard, I'm with you. I'm with you completely, Lewis, on Pollard. I really am not a Pollard guy. I'm not really a Zeke guy. I say I'm not really a Zeke guy. I have been in the past, but I've probably been burnt a couple of times just on, not even on him, on Dallas and just their whole offense. 1 week 50 odd points, next week absolute dire. Can't run, can't pass, can't do anything, and you go, what is this? Is just the problem that you get with Dallas. But I'm not sure. I don't think Pollard is their guy. I don't buy into it. I think
with the Cowboys as well, they've had back-to-back seasons where they've been in the top 5 for passes attempted under Dak. So getting 2 running backs relevant is going to be hard in that as well. With Zeke does catch the ball.
Yeah.
So it's for me, Pollard. Yeah, he will have them. He can break off them 40-yard touchdown runs and things like that. But best ball, brilliant.
Yeah.
Can you bank on it? That's my only issue with Pollard.
Yeah. That's it. It's dropping him into your starting lineup. You go.
Yeah. And he gets drafted too early for me to pull the trigger on him to confidently start him.
Yeah.
You know?
There's a lot of what I find around Pollard is you might get a few rookie. Seems to be at the moment. You seem to get quite a few rookie running backs that are around that could be the guy. And you sort of Rashad White, or there's loads, or wide receiver threes that can quite easily step up potentially into those wide receiver 2 spots. And I think picking up Pollard around there, or even like I've seen him go around or before Kareem Hunt, and now I mean, for me, the Deshaun Watson news is. I think that means that there's 6 games. They're going to run the shit out of the ball. Surely, they are going to run the shit out of the ball for the first 6 games.
Dump offs for Hunt as well. Them first 6 weeks, he's going to eat, and he's being fully disrespected for where he's being drafted. Yeah,
and people say, but he could be because they're going to cut somebody, aren't they? They've got to cut either Dearness Johnson or Hunt. So it's going to be Dearness Johnson now with this news, I would say, right? But even if they were to let go of Hunt, then he goes into the market. He's Kareem Hunt, man. He's a decent running back. So I mean,
if he landed somewhere like Houston, where he's going to clearly come in as the number 1, with where Davis Mills,
he'd be like
because he was still like I don't know, I can't remember the exact number, but before he got hurt last year, he was still a RB1. He was still putting up them numbers.
Yeah, I think I had Chubb in a few leagues, and the fury of the whole rotation side of things as well was like they didn't care as well. And also what's interesting with what I find with the Browns, what they did, especially what they did last season as well, it wasn't like, let's bring Chubb on for the goal line work or the short game work. It was like, no, Hunt's got us here. Hunt finishes it. And you're like, oh no, they're not going to bring him on. They're not going to, you know what I mean? I was like, shit.
Yeah. You fantasy nightmare, the Browns.
Yeah, they are. But like you said, there's definitely enough love to go around when you for somebody like Kareem Hunt for me. And I would.
Yeah, but I think you both bang on. I mean, with the Watson news on Monday, I can't see, he's going to stick around. And if he carries on performing the way he has, then, we'll see out the season, I reckon, with the Browns, and then, we'll see what happens at the end of the season, really. But
right. Well, what we do? We wrap it. We're going to wrap this up. I think
we've covered everything.
We've done a bit of offense, for Christ's sake. I mean,
sorry.
That's crazy. No. Hey, mate. Absolutely. Yeah. Right. So, Bren, what we got? Do you know what we've got next? Are we on next week? No, we're not on next week.
I don't know. I think we've got to have a talk about that.
Yeah, we've got to have a talk about that. So we're not going to announce anything about that because we haven't had a talk about that. I should really look at the show notes, but I've been them off.
It's busy. Yeah. No, it's just, we're just trying to get back into the swing of it with sort of pre-season looming and all the rest of it. So, we're getting back on track. So we will definitely have a talk about it over the next couple of days. And
I know where we are.
Yeah, absolutely,
well,
mate.
Lewis, thank you very much for coming on, mate. Absolute pleasure.
Yeah, it's been brilliant.
We look forward to Fast Action Friday with you boys. I tell you what, I'll get on there and wine Rob up. Love that.
I'm going to go and stick Tony Pollard on all the waivers.
No, but thanks for having me on. It's been a lot of fun, and thank you.
To do it again sometime, definitely, mate.
Absolutely,
definitely, mate.
Yeah, been a lot of fun.
Quality. Cheers, guys. Thanks very much.
Lads. See ya
later. Yeah.
So yeah.